Okay, this is a tutorial on how to update the First State Bank building time-lapse video in Premiere Pro. This is going to be a monthly task. This is November of 2017. Step 1 is to set up the project on the server. So to do that, we go to First State Bank, go to Video, Time-Lapse, which is the project that we're in, and here is the first one. All that you really need is this Premiere project file. This is the master file for the video project. All the other stuff was used to build. These are the output files. This was used to, this PSD and these assets were all used to create this project file. These are graphic assets such as end tag, type, logo, backgrounds, and such. Music bed, etc. So all we need to do is make a new folder for this month, copy this project file in here, and rename it this month. Next step is to open Adobe Premiere Pro. While we're waiting for that, I can download the new time-lapse video from Chris Blumenshine, which is in our task summary. Here's a link for the new footage. Sign in with our llc@gmail.com account. And this looks like it should be it. Looks good. It's a minute long, so I'm not going to watch the whole thing. And I'm going to drag download into the server. Okay, the raw time-lapse video is downloaded. Premiere's open. Let's go make a new assets folder where we can drop this time-lapse video. Navigate to my downloads, should be the most recent one. Alright, so now we're all set to open the Premiere project. Double click. We're probably going to have some missing links here because we moved it to a new folder. Indeed we do. Mute track, just while we preview this thing so the music doesn't get too annoying. It looks like it actually tracked all the assets down and found them. So all that we need to do is replace this file with the new one, and then we need to move when and where this red bar animates so that the dates match up to, and it ends in November, or ends in just before November. That's where we want it to end. So we're just starting, we're going to edit this file, what plays in the background, and then we're going to edit this red bar, when and where it comes in, starts and finishes, which you can see is going to be up here. That's where the animation occurs. So let's navigate to this video. Let's see if we can replace the asset right from here. I believe we can. I think we need to add to the library first. Navigate to our project folder. Here we are. Go to our assets. And here it is. Okay. So right now we have a 20-second or so video right here. So it starts at around 5, ends at around 25, give or take. So we're just under 30 seconds total, 28 seconds or something. So this one is 1 minute and 10 seconds, a lot longer. We do have more music. I believe we have 3 minutes of music. Seven minutes of music to work with. There's a couple of breakdowns in there, so plenty of music material to work with, so we can extend this out. I think the easiest way to do this is to select multiple items. We're going to have to redo this cross dissolve. Anything that we break, we're going to have to redo. I think we can select all these things and extend them out. Nope. Obviously, video is not my first strength, and so there's going to be a little bit of trial and error here. Bear with me. Let's redo that cross dissolve. Okay, so let's do this. Let's add in, if we can't replace this altogether, let's add this video in. Step one is to import. That brings it into our library, our file library here. There we go. So these are all of our project assets for this project, this video project. And now we can drag and drop it ideally. Work. We'll add it at the end, and then we can move it around from there. Okay. That's on an audio layer, so we need to get off that audio layer. We're going to undo that. This video layer. Hit insert. Let's go back and test it. Okay, so that worked. So make sure that you're on a video layer V1, rather than an audio. Make sure that your marker is at the end. Right click on the asset, insert, and that throws that video in at the end of our video. So we've got all these graphics and stuff that come in at the top of our timeline. The time lapse, which is right here, the blue one, fades out, or it gets other stuff fades on top of it. It ends, you don't see it because now we have stuff on top of it. And then we're going to have a black break here where there's no media in the timeline, and then it's just going to start right into the new time lapse. So in order to bring this in, I'm going to delete this old one. Just select and hit the delete button, drag the new one in. So now we have this new video. You can always hit when you're dragging the timeline marker here. I don't remember what that's called, but you can always hit the space bar to just start playing it and see what it looks like. So now our red bar is moving up at the top. We've got our new video. It's going to get to the graphics at the end. And then our graphics are going to disappear right here where they end. And we're just going to jump right back into the rest of the time-lapse video because it's longer than everything else right now. So let's grab, we've got a small black rule. Let's check out these layers. Small black rule, let's turn this on and off. So you can see that that's that thin black line that's underneath the timeline. That's what that layer is. Timeline months.png, which is going to be your type. We have our red bar, which is our loading bar. We have a black bar, which is the background, semi-transparent background bar. So these are our graphic elements that we have over the timeline, and then we have our end tag graphics, which are going to be the wood, background wood. Let's turn that on and off so we can see. endtag2.png, which is your type, logo.png, which is clearly the logo, and we've got our number 11, wrong layer, number 11, and our FDIC compliance. So that's what all these elements are. So we're just going to grab all of them and move them to the end, which is a minute 14 or so. And so what we want is we want them to overlap the end of the time-lapse video. And the only thing that we're going to need to fix is this cross dissolve that goes from, that brings in the wood, that fades in the wood. So we have the wood fading in and then the logo fading in at the same time, right here, and then you start to fade in the end tag, which is the type, and then number 11, and then FDIC. So that's the order that we have it all fading in. And we're just using a simple cross dissolve on each one. It's really easy to replace. And these are all just covering up the black bar, red bar, all of this stuff at the top. So they're just covering them up. Those things aren't fading out or anything. So we have all of these selected. We're going to drag them to the end. And to select multiple, shift click, and then just click and drag. We're going to make sure that we just cover up the end here, the end of the time-lapse video. So this is about right. It doesn't need to be perfect because it's a time-lapse video. We're not missing a whole lot there. It's more of the same. So if we sacrifice a second or two in there, that's okay. So now we have our nice time lapse, and then we have our end tag. And right now it just jumps to wood because it's not fading. There's no cross dissolve here because that got removed. So what we need to do is now we need to do the same thing here. Shift, select, and then we're going to drag all these and extend them so that they end sometime after these things fade in. So we'll just drag them to the end of the time-lapse video. So now we have all of our components up here except for the black rule underneath it. And you notice that the animation appears to have stopped on the red bar. So we're going to need to go back and edit that as well. So small black rule, we're going to bring that in so that we can cross dissolve. There we go. So now we see that. It's going to disappear right there. Back again. So we need to extend it all the way. And then to cross dissolve, you're going to select two things that are next to each other. So the same technique where you click one, shift click the other. We're going to go to Effects on the left here. We're going to go to Video Transitions, Dissolve, Cross Dissolve. It's the one that's highlighted. It's the most commonly used. Drag it and drop it onto the seam in between the two. And then this one we had it fade in a little bit more. So what you can do is you can extend it so that it takes longer to fade in or less to fade in. So this is a really quick fade. I'm just going to hit spacebar to see it at full speed. Really quick fade. Let's exaggerate it, do a really long fade. Long drag out fade. So what we had before was we had the black bar fading out really quickly, and then the wood fading in a little bit longer, while the logo fades in really quickly. So the logo's fading in while you're still seeing motion behind it, and then the wood comes in behind it. That's kind of the effect we want to go for here to be consistent from month to month. Is the logo, you see the logo first. And there's still lots of activity happening behind it, and then the wood comes in with the type. And you kind of want this to end when the type comes into full opacity. And then the other stuff at the end of that. Okay, so we have a couple things left to do. One is the animation of the red bar, and then the other is the audio. I think with the audio, we can just drag this and it still has all the information from the rest of the song in there. It shouldn't have cropped it. It's still in there. We just stopped it. We just cut it short. That looks like it is the case. So we'll extend this all the way out, which is easy enough. And it kept our transition, which is constant power. It's a constant power transition, and that's our fade out. That's what fades the music out really slowly. Over 3.5 seconds. So this is the same concept where we can fade out really harshly or we can fade out really slowly. We're just going to keep that the same as we had before. And so since that song is 7 minutes long, it keeps all this information in here, this song information, so we can keep extending out up into 7 minutes. So let's make sure, let's unmute our audio so we can verify that. Got audio, we've got two audio layers here. Let's reveal that again here. Okay, I'll skip again. Skip again. Okay, so it fades out, which is what we wanted. We can remute these things in order to keep working on the animations and whatnot, so it doesn't get too annoying. But what we'll want to do is, before we export an MPEG or an MP4, that We want to watch the whole thing all the way through, make sure that there's nothing weird that happens with the video, make sure that we still haven't watched the time lapse all the way through just to make sure there aren't any hitches or glitches in there. We also want to listen to the music all the way through because we just added another 30-40 seconds of music, and we don't know what was in that music. We don't know if there's any weird little breakdowns or anything that might just feel weird in the video. So I'm going to remute these. Thank you, Premiere, for auto-saving the project. That's helpful. Now we're going to do the red bar animation. So we're going to double click on it. We need to get out of effect controls is what we're going for up here. So we double click on the red bar, so we have it selected. We go up here to the top to effect controls. I'm just going to drag this so we see more of this animation window here and less of these items. So we have all these different ways to control the animation. We can change the opacity, we can change the scale, meaning we can make it shrink or grow, we can rotate it, we can change position, which is what we have. We have this full, you can't see it, it goes off screen over here. Let's see if we can get a better look at that. There you go. So we have this full width red bar that eventually will fill, it'll start here and then fill here toward when we're toward the end of this project here, a year from now. So it's full size, and all we're doing is just changing the position of it. So we're moving it from off screen to on screen. Get my scale back. Fit. Change it to fit so I always see it. Okay. So the only things that we're using here, you can tell by the little clock that's turned on, and it's turned blue as a little hand in the clock. That's how you can tell it's on. So we're not using any of these other items right now. We're not changing the rotation. We're not changing the appearance. You can make things right on a vector path, so on and so forth. All we're doing is changing position. We have opacity on here just to control the opacity, but we're not changing the opacity. It's staying solid red, as you can see. Okay. So here we start. We've got our intro that ends these three items in the intro. Cross dissolve, meaning they fade out. A couple of them fade in, and then they fade out. And then we start with our red bar animation. So in order to see some of this, I'm going to zoom in. I can remember how. Okay. Okay, so what we have here is we have our initial little animation, which is really quick. There we go. That's how you zoom in. So you click and drag these dots here to see more or less of the timeline up here. So we have it going to 20 seconds. We're going to have to change that. We're going to have to go all the way out to the end. So you drag this all the way to the end. So this is the end of our video, which is, or the end of, not the end of the video, it's the end of this section that we have selected, which is called red bar. It starts at 5 seconds, ends at 1:15, so it's 1:10 seconds long. So that's where we end here. So this animation, this right here is called a keyframe, this diamond, and that is basically like a chapter marker. So this is the end. This is the last time we change anything with the red bar. So its position right here, this is the last time we change its position right now. it's here. Well, if we use these arrows, you can see we can add or remove a keyframe. Right now we have one selected, so if we hit this, it would remove it. This one goes to the next keyframe, this one goes to the previous. So that's the previous, there's the next. So it jumps your timeline to the next keyframe, which is really handy when we're doing these animations. You can see that the position moves. The Y position, this is XY. So Y position, which is vertical, does not change. Only X changes, which means it's moving from negative off screen towards on screen. So the number is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. What we're going to end up doing is just dragging this and moving it over probably, or just making the numbers go up and down until it looks right. So we're going to take this keyframe, which is the last time we change. You can see after this it doesn't change position. Watch these numbers, not changing position. The red bar, not changing position. We go to the other side of this keyframe. It is changing position. These numbers are changing as we scrub the timeline. And then the red bar is changing position, which is controlled by these numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag this keyframe all the way to the end. So what we did now is we told it, instead of moving from here to here over 20 seconds, do it over a minute. So the animation's now going to be a lot slower. You can barely see it moving. The number's moving, but it's not moving very fast. That's full speed. I'm going to move the keyframe all the way up just so you can see the difference and how fast the numbers change. This is full speed again, way faster. And now you can actually see it moving. So again, what we're going to do now is move this keyframe all the way to the end of the animation so that the red bar is animating all the way until we get to the end tag. Okay. And then we need to, we're not going to mess with how it, we're going to zoom in here so we can see this. Go back to the beginning. This right here, this is called easing. So the red bar comes in really fast and then slows down. So we're not going to mess with this section at all. You're not going to touch that. All you're going to do is change the position of where it starts, and that's it. We're not going to mess with the curve here, which controls how it comes in really fast and then slows down. That's what's making that happen. So the first thing to do is we'll go to the end, change the position at the end. And we need this to end. I clicked into the X bar here, and I'm just shift up and down arrow to make those numbers go up and down. And I'm just going to eyeball it. We need this to end right around the beginning of November. If we go back, check the date on this upload, it goes right around the end of October. I'll see a date on here. There's one in the name of the file, August to October. So we'll just assume this ends at the end of October. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Nobody's going to call BS on us if we're wrong. So it ends right in between October and November. Maybe I'll back it off a little bit so there's a little space there. That's fine. So what it did was I didn't have this on the last keyframe, so it added a keyframe. So I'm going to undo that. So make sure I'm on that last keyframe. There we go. Now we can't see it, so now I need to turn off these end tag layers. Pull this animation back just a little bit. There we go. You can see everything up here gets real junky until it renders that. When you move things around, the quality gets real low res, and then it'll catch up and re-render it. So that looks about right to me. Okay, so So now we need to go change the beginning. So this is August. So the last one we did started around the beginning of August, ended before September-ish. So this one is, it said August to October, so we'll start it probably late August. So again, we'll go back to the previous keyframe, click into this, start it somewhere in there. So we're going to go back, click left arrow to get to the original keyframe, and this red bar, hit space, see how it eases in really quickly to that spot and then starts loading in a regular even pace. There's a flat curve here in this animation. Skip ahead. Looks good. We get all the way to the end. It's going to go black because we turned all these off, just so we can see and do it by eye. So turn this back on, hit spacebar to play again. Looks good. Now I think that's it. I think we're done. So now we're going to turn the music back on. We're going to watch the whole thing all the way through and make sure everything looks good, nothing looks weird. Alright, looks good to me. We're going to go ahead and save the project. And then we're going to export. We're going to export media. Should pull up our last settings. MPEG 2 HD 1080 23 frames a second, or 24 frames a second basically. MPEG audio. Down here we have our full timeline end to end, so that by default it usually pulls in whenever you stop having things to show. It'll just call that the end of the video. You can change that. You can drag it and change it if you want. You can make it end earlier. We're just going to leave that at the end. Output name. So we have export video checked, export audio checked, which is good. We can change the name if we want to in the location by double clicking on that blue area. We're going to navigate to our folder, so we just save it directly there. Alphabet. And I'm just going to call it that, the same name, but .mpeg. There we go. FSB TimeLapse 2017-11.mpeg. Save it, and then save that name, and then export. Okay, so that should have exported. Check our file, make sure that it's in the folder here. There we go. So you can see the project, the PR, meaning Premiere, the Premiere project, created all these ancillary files and folders. This is the one that we created, which has the new time lapse in it. And this is our export file. It's 148 megabytes, so it has a lot of information there, so I assume it looks good. I still want to open it and find out. So the last thing to do is to just double click, open this file. I'm using QuickTime to record this screencast, so I'm not going to do it right now. But that would be the last thing to do, is just make sure that it's not glitchy, that